got our Mount Rushmore of video game quote-unquote artists. People are like, oh yeah, I'm Kojima, Neil Druckmann. Now, I'm off. Did Josef Fares 4 times. There we go. That is my Mount Rushmore. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. One of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Hunter. Hey, Hunter, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
We've only just noticed as we were starting the recording. Apparently, this is the last episode of season 5. Whatever. Where are we, Hunter? What day is it? What time is it? Where are we living?
This would be the end of year 5.
That's crazy. It doesn't feel right. It feels wrong. It doesn't feel natural. Why are we still here, Hunter? What are we doing?
It's like how last week everyone was talking about how the Switch had just turned 8 or whatever, and I was like, oh.
Dude, I was having that thought the other day where I was
wrong.
like, I was watching people play Mario Odyssey, and I'm like, oh, people are still playing the new Mario. That's cool. And I'm like, that game's 8 years old. Dude. That game's like gonna be 8 years old this year. What? That just doesn't compute to me. It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good either. But hey, unfortunately, it's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this for 5 whole years now. Unfortunately, no real celebrations here. We got no stats, we got no numbers, we got nothing. But we're extremely grateful. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, whether you've been here for a week, a month, a year, 5 years. If you've been here for 5 years, what the hell is wrong with you? But we appreciate it nonetheless. And yeah, we'll see what the future holds, I guess. This week, we're talking about Split Fiction. Hunter and I have both been playing it together, so we've played roughly about 6 and a bit hours of Split Fiction. So we've got plenty of impressions for you there. That's basically the topic of the show. So we're just going to talk about that. So if you're a fan of Josef Fares, if you're a fan of these Hazelight games, which a lot of people seem to be a fan of these Hazelight games, then come on in. We've got plenty of impressions on it. Because we've played a good chunk. We played over half of it at this point. So we'll have plenty of impressions for you. But hey, bit of housekeeping. If you are new here, this is the HGO podcast. We're here usually on Mondays at around 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern on podcast services everywhere, and at youtube.com/hotgamesonly. Except today, we're out on a Sunday because of review embargoes. Isn't that fun? Haven't had to deal with that one before.
That's exciting. Yeah, this is a new and exciting problem to have.
So yeah,
It's moving the content around.
Your calendar is not, wrong. We are here on a Sunday this week just because we have a review that is going up tomorrow. I don't remember what embargo time is, but it should be up on embargo time, both on the website, hotgamesonly.com, and on YouTube. So, yes, this is going out slightly early this week. So that's fun. So, yeah, be sure to check out that review for whatever it is tomorrow. Hunter's been having fun writing that and getting that done for a deadline. It's fun having deadlines, right? It's fun.
Oh, it's not too bad this time. But yeah, it's been interesting to have this one early enough to do it, since every other time I've gotten the code has been a day before the game comes out.
Yeah, we've had quite a while. Well, I say you've had quite a while to actually get through the game and actually review it, so it should be a fun time. So yeah, be sure to check that out tomorrow on YouTube and podcast services, or if you're watching it on Monday, if you've literally just hopped into your podcast feed as you usually do on your Monday on your way to work or whatever.
There's a review out for you.
There's a review out. There you go. Congratulations. And apologies if this is throwing you off a little bit, if Sundays feel weird.
It's disrupting your circadian rhythm.
We've got that. Cal's got an article out on the website on Tuesday. We've got a lot of stuff coming out this week. It's like the end of the financial year, you've got to get everything out. We're doing a Square Enix, just chuck the remainder of our stuff out while we can. So yeah.
Oh man, I can't believe we forgot to put out our Chocobo GP.
Yeah, these are our Chocobo GPs. But yeah, so yeah, be sure to check out the website. There's plenty of stuff going out there. Another bit of housekeeping for you. Next week, there will be no episode of the HGO podcast. Shock or the horror. What on earth? Yeah, basically, if you haven't noticed, our anniversary date for HGO, Hot Games Only in general, is the 23rd of March. That is the day the first episode of the podcast went live. And I don't know if you've noticed, yeah, we're nowhere near the 23rd of March anymore. So to try and get us back on track, the HGO podcast will be returning on the 24th of March with an episode about Xenoblade Chronicles and Assassin's Creed Shadows, if you are so inclined to come back and join us. But it's to give us a bit of a reset. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're not necessarily ready, so it's like it gives us a chance to catch up. It also gives us a chance. We are kind of changing the way that we're producing the show internally, so that we have a bit more wiggle room instead of trying to get everything done in a span of 24 hours. So it gives us a bit of a refresh. And who knows? Next week, though, you will have content. I can promise you that. You'll have a review of Split Fiction that will be going up because I'll be writing that for you, and I'll make sure that it goes out next week. So I don't know when next week, but it'll be out there. So there will be something going up next week. I'll try and make it Monday. Shall I try and make it Monday? We'll make it Monday. So there's something that goes out on
Yeah.
Monday at the usual time. So me and Hunter just got to plow through the rest of it so I can write a review. But yeah, apologies in advance. But this is the first week in a long time that we haven't uploaded the podcast. I think since season one, maybe, that we haven't.
Yeah, I feel like besides then we've managed to fill in whatever
Or if not,
gaps
catch
are
up.
going to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we will technically, we won't, but I think that at least in my head, I want to get out of this kind of, there needs to be something. I'd rather it be good. So give us an extra week to try and freshen stuff up a little bit and get us back on track, and we'll be good to go. So we'll see you on the 24th with Assassin's Creed. And I mean, we've got a bang a couple of weeks coming up afterwards. Like when we are back, we are back. We're hitting the floor. We've got 2 new games first week of the podcast coming back. Week after that, we've got our predictions for the Switch 2 event, because that is literally the week after. So we'll have a Switch 2 news galore the couple of weeks after that. And then who knows? More video games. Lost Records will be finishing its second thing in
Yeah.
May. We've got plenty of stuff coming up.
Expedition 33 would be coming out relatively
South of Midnight, there are
soon.
games that are
Yeah.
coming out that we can give a try. There's plenty of stuff coming out and plenty of topics too. So come on in, enjoy what we have, I guess, for season 6, which feels wrong and feels gross, and we do appreciate it. I never expected it to. I never expected us to finish one season. Never mind, get to 6. I guess the aim now is to get to 300. I guess is this is the point now, is we're hurtling another 40 episodes, Hunter. Just hurtle towards that
Woo.
end goal of 300 now. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And thank you ever so much for the support. Right. With all that out of the way, let's talk about Split Fiction. It's the new Hazelight game, Hunter. And I
It
think it's
is.
done all right. My review hasn't come out yet, so the score is not locked, okay? The score's not locked. You don't know. I could drag it down, but yeah, it's doing pretty good for itself. It's the latest game by the Hazelight team. You may know them as the guys that did It Takes Two, Game of the Year 2021. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was crazy. Oops, that's on the wrong thing. Who knows if that ruined the podcast? I don't know. But yeah, they also made A Way Out. If you played A Way Out, I played A Way Out, or Brothers.
Yeah.
If you played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, maybe you played the remake last year. They didn't make the remake, but they did make the original. So yeah, Hunter, what's your experience with Hazelight in the past? We've both infamously not played It
um
Takes Two. We know that.
yeah, neither of us have played It Takes Two, but I have played Brothers and I did play A Way Out, both in the maybe not last year, but the year before. I don't remember specifically anymore which one it was, but it was either last year or the year before that, and I liked them both quite a bit. I thought that Brothers was real neat. I thought A Way Out was solid for about 2/3 of it, and then it just kept going.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm in the similar position. I played Brothers years and years and years ago. Um, I didn't even know who made it. This was back in, when Brothers came out. That was back in the kind of, I like the early years of indie games, where it was like it just kind of showed up one day, and I was like, oh, I think I remember hearing like Total Biscuit and people like that talk about it. Like that's the era
Yeah.
that comes back to mind when I think of Brothers, and I liked it quite a bit. And then I played A Way Out not too long ago, maybe 3 years ago, or maybe it was even it might have been even more recent. But I liked it quite a bit. But yeah, I think it was a bit long in the tooth. I think it could have been about 2 hours shorter. Was my impressions of that. And then yeah, yet to play It Takes Two. But I kind of had the urge last week, the kind of I don't know. I had good feeling about this game, about how well it would do and how good it would be, and I was like, "Ugh, I kind of just want to play it. I kind of want to buy it." And so I bought it up on the podcast, and then Hunter was like, "Oh, I'll play it," and I was like, "Okay," and then I just put the pre-order in straight away. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a bit of FOMO. I felt a bit of FOMO. I think it's because so many people enjoyed It Takes Two, and I never played it that I'm like, that first trailer for Split Fiction I thought was so good. Like it just looked really fun. So I was like, oh, I've got like I can't miss out on two of these, right? Especially now that we're looking at it sitting at a 90 on OpenCritic currently still. It's like,
Yeah.
man, well, let's hop in, let's see what it's like. So that's what is happening basically. I have bought the game. I bought a physical copy of it. Hunter is playing on the Friends Pass is how we're doing it.
Woo.
So Hunter's getting a free ride, ladies and gentlemen. Which is all fun and games. It's fine by me, to be honest, because it was super cheap. It was like $40, so can't
Yeah,
complain.
it's not a super expensive game at all, even if you both did have to buy it.
Or you could
Like,
literally, if as long as your friend doesn't care about achievements or trophies or stuff like that,
yeah.
go halvesies on it. Just go, oh, hey, I'll chuck you $20. Let's play it. Seems pretty simple to me, but yeah. And my copy came a day early. I bought it physically, and it came a day early.
Of all the things to show up early, it's
Yeah.
funny. I've never had that happen with a game being delivered to me, but like, which it would be real nice if that happened. I've only ever had that happen with like CDs and stuff,
Mm,
where they come in early.
yeah. I had that happen. DVDs, I think people don't care as much, but yeah, in the UK. You usually have there's usually a chance. It's been a while since I can't remember the last time I got a game early. I think it might have been ooh, Persona 5 Strikers maybe in 2021. It's been a while, but usually the rule of thumb is, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in the UK, there are some great places like Shop 2 and Game Collection who usually send stuff out early. And if the games are low profile enough, like this is pretty low profile, Persona 5 Strikers, and it's coming out on like a Tuesday or a Thursday, chances are they send it out early and it just shows up early. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
time, if it's a big release, like if it's an Assassin's Creed or whatever, they will sign it off where it's like, you must deliver it on this day. Like, we're sending it out early, but
you cannot break the street
Royal Mail,
date,
you
or we
need
will break
to,
your
yeah,
legs.
you need to deliver it on this day. Whereas with something like this, they just put it on, 48-hour delivery, and if it gets here in 24, it gets here in 24. So, it's all fun. But yeah, so we're both playing on PS5. Hunter's playing on PS5. I'm playing on using. I don't think it uses Piss's technology, but I'm playing on PS5 Pro. First thing I can say is that this game looks great, and my God,
Oh, it looks
how do
super
they
good.
do this? Like the witchcraft of this game to me is the fact that not only is it a co-op game that looks this good, not a single frame drop. Literally nothing. I've had no issues with this game, and it's rendering two halves of the screen at the same time. Like,
Yeah, two instances of
yeah,
like the same thing.
it's pretty crazy how well this game looks and feels at the moment. I'm like, that's the thing that, you know, it's not the shining example. I'm not looking at it and going, oh, it's one of the greatest looking PS5 games I've ever played. But it looks great and it just runs so damn smooth where in terms of network as well, we've had one disconnect over 6 hours.
Yeah,
And the game just kind of booted us to the main menu and we just had to go back in and we lost zero progress. So
yeah. It was one of the least inconvenient disconnects that have ever happened.
it just kind of happened as well. There was no lag, there was no stuttering, it was no, oh, I'm losing connection. It just kind of, I think it might have even just been a server thing where it was like, oh, servers died for a brief second, come back on, and then we were back in. Um, Do you want to run a? What's the premise of this game, Hunter? You run us through the premise of Split Fiction.
All right, so the general setup for Split Fiction is there are these two writers who are going to this company that wants to it's some kind of program to get them their stories published. The twist here is that the company in question also wants to like put you in a bubble and extract the stories from you, mechanically reclaiming your creativity.
Yeah, so you play as Mio and Zoe, who one is a writer of science fiction and the other one is a writer of fantasy. And that's the only thoughts they've ever had in their lives are these two genres, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, essentially, you signed up for this book deal. You get told that you're going into the machine, which is basically the Animus from
The
Assassin's Creed.
machine.
Yeah, you get put in a bubble. Mio goes, I don't want to go in that. I don't want to go in the bubble. You can't
It
make me.
scares me.
It scares me. Don't put me in the bubble. And Warren Vidic from Assassin's Creed is like, no, you must go in the bubble. And then he pushes her into the bubble with Zoe, and they end up in the same bubble, which basically means that they are fight. The machine is struggling to comprehend two streams of consciousness, so they're kind of meshed together, and they're forced to go into each other's stories. And it's forming these glitches that they've got to collect to try and fuck with the guy. Essentially, is we don't want you to steal our creativity and our narratives that we're creating, so we're gonna fuck your machine up and blow it up from the inside. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it does lead to you basically, like you say, Mio is very much a writer of sci-fi, and Zoe is a writer of fantasy. So you're going between their two worlds. So you'll spend a level doing sci-fi stuff, and then you'll spend a level doing fantasy stuff. And when we're talking levels here, I don't know what
Oh
It Takes
man.
Two is like, but I assume It Takes Two is pretty similar because I remember people saying that the levels were long in It Takes Two. The levels are long here. We're talking like hour and a
They
half
are
stints.
chunky. Yeah.
Like, there's an introduction chapter. There was probably like an hour where you were hopping between the both of them quite frequently, but then you
Yeah.
kind of stay put for a while in one. So the second main level is mainly sci-fi, and then it's mainly fantasy. And these levels are like an hour and a half long, 2 hours long each, which
Yeah.
is they kind of have their own little mini narratives. Basically, you go through. It's basically like three or four or five mini levels that are all kind of drawn together, right, Hunter? It's like, you'll
Yeah,
start
they're
off
all
with
kind of united by a theme of some variety.
hmm.
And then, you know, you're just kind of working towards the end of whatever they set up at the beginning, even
So
if
it'll
you've
start with a
forgotten what it
premise, and
was.
yeah, it'll just build up and up and up and up from that premise. And as you can expect, the sci-fi ones are a lot more suited to that world. So it'll be, one level you'll literally be doing like Mega Man, Metroid 2D platforming, and mix that with, shooting mechanics and puzzle solving with, shields and grenades. And then in a fantasy world, you'll be transforming into different creatures and using those puzzles to try and navigate the environment and solve puzzles in that way. So, there's some interesting ideas at play here. And when you are in a level, if you are in a sci-fi level, there'll be at least those. I think it's three. There's like three instances where there's mini side stories that you can go and do, which will be the other genre. So you'll have three mini
Yeah.
sci-fi adventures in the fantasy level, and then when you go to the sci-fi level, there'll be three mini fantasy adventures that are completely optional. You don't have to do any of these. These are all just if you want to do them, and I'd highly recommend that you
Yeah,
do
they're
them
still
because they're some of the
100%
best
worth
stuff
it
that are
though,
in the
because they're
game. Yeah.
good ideas. Yeah.
So, for example, there's the pig one, which I think is it's in the trailers. I know that much. There's where you go into this fantasy side story, and both of you are playing as pigs. So one of you is a pig that has like a spring. So when you press the trigger, you extend like a long boy up, like high into the
Yeah,
sky. And then if
like a
you were
slinky.
yeah, and then if you were me in this scenario, you were a pig that farted rainbows that shot you across the sky. Um, And there was just a lot of stupid mechanics with that where, it was like, "Oh, okay, we need to help each other out to grab apples and move on throughout the level." There's some really goofy stuff in that one. I don't wanna ruin what the big, like, the joke, the payoff is, but it's really funny. I think there's a lot of stuff here where even if it's just a small mechanic, a lot of the times we've just been giggling or having a very fun time with the mechanics, just messing about. There's been just some
Yeah,
very
for sure.
fun experimentation, like, kind of like, there's just a lot of experimentation that you can do with this, where it's just like, yeah, "Oh, try shooting that," and you explode a bridge and everybody on it just falls to the ground and dies, or, like you say, you farting pig everywhere, like, you can literally just like, "Oh, what if I headbutt the big pig with my farting pig?" And then he like, there, and then you get interactions like that. It's a fun time, really. They really don't let a single gameplay element outstay its welcome, really, in terms of mechanics. It's just kind of it throws something at you, goes, "Have some fun with that," and then kind of takes it away after
Yeah.
a while, which I think is quite fun, especially when it's like, you're just getting to the end of it, it's like, "Okay, we've done a lot of transforming here," and it's like, "Okay, yeah, we're done with the transforming now. You never have to transform ever again. We're done with that. Moving on to something else completely different." Um, I don't know if we mentioned it. I've been playing as Mio, you've been playing as Zoe.
Yeah, that has
What
been
what
the setup.
what are your thoughts on I mean, here's the thing with these games. You don't play a Hazelight game for the story, ladies and gentlemen. You don't. It Takes Two. Remember the plot of It Takes Two, ladies and gentlemen, was parents want a divorce. Here's a horny book that stirs things up. Like, we're not talking about narrative kind of perfection here. Um,
Yeah. Um, yeah, like there is a fair amount of cutscenes, so if
mhm.
for some reason you believed that they were getting in the way, then I suppose that's fair. But I don't really believe that to be the case. Like it's mostly just a kind of by the numbers story with some funny writing here and there.
Yeah, it's there's some there's I don't care at all about the villain. I really don't. It is the most kind of generic kind of mustache twirling. Of course, it is just Abstergo from Assassin's Creed, basically. Um,
Yeah.
and I like Mio and Zoe. I wasn't 100% on them at first. At first, I was like, oh, okay, so the British one is all kind of extroverted and really annoying, and the American doesn't want to talk and hates everybody. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is it. And but as we've gone along, I'm like, Zoe's toned herself down enough for me to be like, okay, I'm starting to deal with you a bit more. Mio, like, they're meeting in the middle where I don't hate either of these characters. I think they're both fine,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, I like them far more than I liked either of the guys from A Way Out.
Oh, yeah. Like, I didn't want to listen to any of what they had to say, really. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. I like the idea of going the story in general. I think it's a really good premise for a game like this. Me and you were kind of having a chat where it was like, it's very weird that they just weren't game designers.
Yeah, I think maybe they thought it'd be too on the nose
Too
if
on the
they were.
nose, yeah.
Yeah, because
But
like, come on, we can't have them be AI generating video games. Who would
yeah,
do such a thing?
exactly. But, I think there's there's some fun ideas here. I think, you kind of gotta leave some of your critiques of stuff like this at the door, I feel, with these kinds of games. Because one, you're playing it, you gotta remember that a lot of people are gonna be playing this with a friend like we are, or with a partner, or with whoever. You're not going to be fully focused on the narrative, because there's plenty of times where you just hear something and, you'll have somebody like me who is the worst when they're playing these kind of games, because I'll wanna make a quip, I wanna make a joke, and I'm not gonna wait for this cutscene to finish so that you can do it, and I think that there's a part of it that Hazelight knows this, that it's like, we can't go too intense on the story. I feel like in some kind of to some extent, that's what almost has become a detriment to A Way Out in a way, in comparison to It Takes Two in this one, is it almost did take a lot of its narrative a bit too seriously, where it was like, I didn't pay attention to A Way Out, I can't tell you what the story is,
Yeah,
because
yeah, I know what you mean.
I was too busy screaming at
It
my friend, help, like, this back-to-back climbing the wall section is awful, help me, like, do your job properly, damn it. Whereas at least, the story is there if you want to follow it, and it's pretty, it's pretty by the books, it's pretty average. But hey, if you want to just sit there and listen to it, there's some good stuff there. There's some funny writing, there's some interesting writing, there's some nice little character moments here and there. But also, if you're not paying attention, you can get the gist pretty easily. You know where it's going, you know who that, evil mustache twirling guy is bad. These two are fine. You can obviously tell just from their conversations that they don't like each other, and they're gonna slowly build up that dynamic where I assume they come out of this being the bestest of friends in the end, and
Yeah, probably. It's yeah, and it's like very by the numbers, but in a way that doesn't really like we've both pretty much, I believe, successfully nailed what their um backstory relationships and the status of those are.
yeah. I mean, we'll see, we'll see. I still think she's too chipper for where I feel like, but we'll see. But I think from a story and narrative point of view, it's the premise is what really sells it. I like the idea of going between these fantasy and sci-fi worlds. At first, I didn't think I was like, ugh, I don't really care about fantasy too much, so we'll see what happens here. But I'm actually liking the kind of juxtaposition of both of these, actually, because you know the first sci-fi level you do is very cyberpunk. It is very neon filled streets and raining, rain all
Yeah.
over the place, Akira bikes and, katanas. And I was like, this is sick. What a great level. I love that first level. So far out of the three that we've done, I think the first level was my favorite of the three main ones that we've done. Just because I was
I
like,
would
oh, this is really
be
fun.
inclined to agree.
But then when we went to the fancy one, I actually enjoyed that one quite a bit. Where I was like, "Oh, you know, you've got this shape shifting abilities and stuff like that." And some of them, I think, I was starting to get a bit sick of the shape shifting by the end of it. But I was like, fun premise. And then when we got back to sci-fi and we were doing blasters and stuff like that, I was like, I kind of miss some of the fantasy stuff here a little bit, because the side stories we were doing were very good. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's working. Like it's working. I'm not sitting there currently going, "Oh, I much prefer one style of level to the other," because there's been really good examples of both fantasy and sci-fi and what they've been doing with them. Even in the side stories, like we've talked about fantasy side stories, like there's the the pigs one, there's the one with the storybook, which I thought was really well done.
Yeah, the notebook was a good one.
Yeah,
uh,
but then in the sci-fi world, you've also had some really funny ones as well. There's the game show one. Which me and Hunter are gonna have to go back and play it because we didn't do
yeah,
it properly,
had to you gotta play hot potato with a bomb.
and we were not good at hot potato with a bomb apparently. But
Yeah.
and it's got like a big GLaDOS kind of like robot who's getting more angry by the second because you're not dying. Um, this game just it wears its influences on its sleeve. It really does. You can see Easter eggs and references to just absolutely everything everywhere. Like there are references to Hazelight games. I've seen multiple of those so far. There's been God knows how
There
many
was a
references to other video games.
there was a
Like
Dark Souls reference that was just blatantly just run off in a corner and find a bonfire. It was hilarious.
yeah, though there's been references to Sonic. There's been references to Final Fantasy. Um, there is literally a sci-fi level that just does feel like Final Fantasy VII, like to the point where it very much was like, oh, those robot, like we joked because at the start of the level we were like, hey, that robot kind of looks like one of those robots in Mako Reactor 5. And then we get
Yeah.
to the point later, it's like, oh, that looks like a Mako reactor. It basically is. That's
uh,
kind of crazy. Um, or in the fantasy sections, there's been plenty of references to other little bits and pieces, and there's so many funny little moments and gags, and just th- I just they just know how to make these video games. That's just I'm sitting here and I'm like, they've kind of got this little niche on lock. Like there's
They do.
nobody
It's
that makes games
incredible.
like this, and they do it to such a high quality where it's like we've had a couple of bugs here and there. I phased through the floor a couple of times, but I don't care. I really don't care because I'm having too much fun to really feel anything other than like joy, to be honest. Like
Yeah. Or even I feel like the control in some of that last level we did was kind of wonky here and
mhm.
there, but it didn't really matter that much because we were still having a good time overall.
There's just dumb things you can do, you know? It's like a lot of it is user error where it's like there's a puzzle where it's like, okay, I need to shoot this so that Hunter can fire a bomb, and then we have to do it in reverse and then in reverse again while we're both wall running and trying to do it in a time frame. And, it's just, we're not the kind of people, Hunter, where it's like I feel like in terms of our relationship dynamic, there's a level of trust there, right? Where we don't have to explain
Yeah.
everything to each other. We've both played enough video games where we both know that we should know what's going on here. But we will just sit there in silence, fucking it up a good 4 times. Just out of stubbornness, and they go, okay, maybe we should time this better. Maybe we should, instead of just going, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
I tend to tackle it like how I do with most things, where like if I'm doing like a platforming level and I like goof it up, and then there will be like a couple of buffer attempts where it's kind of jumping and falling off the ledge like two or three more times, and then go on again for real.
Yeah. Or yeah, it's just there's just a lot of goofy stuff that you can do, and just I just I'm just kind of, and I shouldn't be astounded. And to be honest, this game, I'm having a blast with this game. It also makes me want to go back and play It Takes Two because I just want to see what they did with that game. Because I'm just sitting here with this game and going, man, they have so many ideas and just like little bits and pieces. It's just personality everywhere, which I feel is missing from a lot of video games nowadays, where it is just little, stupid things where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a swing there and Hunter sat on the swing, and then me as I can transform into a monkey, and I was just like, oh, let me transform into the monkey and try pushing it because you push him on the swing normally, nothing. Push him as a monkey, and I do it, and he fucking goes flying off into the distance like Team Rocket, like, and it was just like just little stupid things like that that are just so funny. Or when I hit that snowball and then a bird just came out of nowhere, like flying in the distance to be perfectly hit by the snowball and plummets to the ground. Just like so many little moments where it's like not gonna know, not like a lot of people aren't gonna notice that stuff. Or the Halloween town that we went to,
Oh,
and there was
the
so
Halloween
many
Town.
things that you could do. Like you picked up a magic wand and turned me into a chair and then sat on me and then and then I was basically a mount for a bit. Like, like
Yeah.
or just
Oh,
all these potions that you could make. And I was like, oh, this is probably going to be used. And you didn't have to use any of them in the level. That was literally just for your amusement to just do what you want, you know?
and genuinely, it's the kind of weird, hyper specific stuff that I feel like has been hyper specific and also completely pointless that I feel like has been missing from a lot of games for years now. Because I was thinking about this just a few weeks ago, how like some of the games, like the two N64 Zelda games, had so much weird nonsense you could do
Yeah.
for seemingly no reason. Like you put a bomb next to one of the Sheikah stones and they take off like a rocket. It's like this is just one of those things that because I did it when I was a kid, it'll be something I think about forever because of how strange it was.
Well, yeah. It's just like, and I know a lot of it is rose tinted glasses nostalgia, right? And just, but I always bring up like memories that I had as a kid when I was playing games like Sly or Ratchet and Clank, where I'd take like a hub world or a home planet or whatever, and I'd make my own stories around that kind of stuff. I just mess about where
Yeah.
it's like the second planet that you go to in Ratchet 2, which is like the space station or whatever. That used to, in my head as a kid, that used to always be my home base, even though Ratchet has a house on a different planet in that game. No, no, no. And Ethan's like, this is the home base. This is where I'd always go to when I was making my stories. And it's just like, I love games like this because if you are going to play this with, like, say, a son or a daughter or a younger brother or, a family member, or if you've got a partner who doesn't play video games and you're going to, just the amount of just random stuff that is just like, it just brings joy. It reminds me of Astrobot in a lot of ways, this game does, where it's just like,
Oh
there are
yeah.
so many little moments where it's just like, the way something sounds or the way something feels. There are little moments where there's like these little bubbles that you jump into in and out of, and just the sound effects that are playing and the way that the weight of your character feels as you're going through them, or just picking up that magic wand and doing some random stuff, or picking up stealing a balloon from a little mole and him starting crying and then giving him it back and he starts jumping for joy. Just like little bits and pieces like that where it's just like just little interactivity moments, because a lot of games right now, and it's been like this way since the PS3, where you have so many open world games or massive games where, oh, look at this immersive world, look at all these people that are doing something, and it's not immersive because you can't do fucking anything in them. And it's just like, I love how handcrafted this game feels. It feels so much like the antithesis of what a lot of game developers have been trying to make over the past couple of years. And when we're sitting here ranting about Activision blatantly using AI in all of their products, and this game just feels like the antithesis of this, where it's just like, yeah, we're gonna make a shader that makes a 3D area look like a notebook, and we're gonna have that. You're gonna be in that section for roughly about 30 seconds, and it's at the end of a segment, and then we're just gonna, like, you write that off. And I was like,
Bye.
why did you go to 3D for that? Just because you can? I really like, it's just little bits like that where I'm like, I just really appreciate the length, or like their efforts that they've gone to just make little things in this game and just make them work and just do little goofy things like that. It just,
Yeah, just simply because they can or because they want to.
it's just like, and the fact that they made this game in what, 4 years, less than 4 years.
It'd be, yeah, probably closer to like 3, I would say, if they had it ready by,
It's been, yeah.
beginning of this year.
It's just like, I just sit there and I look at how well this game's done critically, because it's like, it's not a perfect, that's the thing, is it's not a perfect video game. And I'm looking at the 90 on OpenCritic, and so far, halfway through, I've heard the ending of this game is crazy. I've not looked up anything because I don't want to see anything, because when people there are people that are like, I don't, this game is fine, but the ending, I'm like, okay, I don't want to know anything. Like, literally just leave me to it, because it sounds like it's going to be special. And it's like, but just playing what I have now, and it's like, when I sit here and I'm like, oh, do you think this is living up to, like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and stuff like that? And I'm like, I'm having so much damn fun that I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't care
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
story is nonsensical and non-important. It's just a really fun time. It's just a really good video game. Can we get back to, this and Astro and all that jazz, where it's just like, who cares? Who gives a shit? It's fun and I'm having a great time. It deserves a 90 because I'm having fucking fun. Like, that's what I'm
Yeah,
liking. It's just that
yeah.
it's just a really fun game.
I would say this is another great example of like a studio just doubling down at what they're good at instead of, trying to chase something else.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is the here's the thing. Joseph Fares has very much made it clear that he's like, we love doing co-op. Co-op's in our DNA. We also might do a single player game at some point. And I'm like, as long as you stay in this kind of ethos, then I don't see an
Yeah.
issue with that at all, really. And I doubt that the team at Hazelight, when you look at it, they've almost gone in reverse. They made an extremely artsy game in Brothers. They then tried to take a more serious kind of look at a narrative in A Way Out. And then they went goofy and goofy again. It's like they've gone and I'm like, I hope they stick in this realm of just like really fun video games that are just good to play. Like, I really, because it's like, it's not one of those games where it's like they bring a mechanic in and it's a really good implementation. It's not a jack of all trades video game, because they are mastering a lot of these mechanics where it's like, you play as one of those pigs for a total of what, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I could have played as those pigs for a lot longer. I was still not over the
Yeah,
joke.
I
The
would've.
joke of the farting pig was still funny to me, and it's like, am I a child? Maybe, but it was just very fun. There was just stupid little things like, you springing, us being on a seesaw and you springing up and then dropping down and then it flying, launching my pig up so I could fart over to the apple. It's just like goofy stuff like that where I'm just like, just fun, just really dumb fun, really just. It's just simple. I'm a simple guy, dude. I'm a simple guy. You have fun mechanics, I'm gonna have a good time. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, easy as that.
Just as easy as that. Um, Yeah, I don't know what else to really say. I'm having a blast. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it's been a great time. Um,
It doesn't like we've done a before this recording of this podcast, we just did a 4 hour session of the game. We did a 2 hour session on Thursday and then it's Friday now. And we've just done a 4 hour session. It didn't feel like 4 hours. It's one of those games where it's just like,
no,
oh, well, we've been playing for that long. Okay, then. It doesn't, it really, so far, I'm not having that a way out feeling where I'm like, I think
get
the
on
third
with it.
this last level that we did, there was a part of me that was almost like there was one boss. We haven't talked about the boss fights. We should talk about boss
Oh,
fights.
yeah.
There was one boss in the third level, where I was like, "Oh, this. Why won't he die already?" Like, kind of the boss. The health bars are a bit long. That's my main criticism of this game. Is sometimes boss fights go on for like a tad too long.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the prevailing criticism with me too, is that the bosses are just a little long because of the it's like after you already know and get the point of the pattern and stuff, it's not really testing you in any kind of way except your patience.
There's also these little weird quirks that I've seen with the bosses sometimes where there'll be, say there's 3 phases, and phase 1 will be the longest phase by far, and then phase 2 and 3 will introduce some more interesting mechanics but be over with way too quickly, where it was like, to put this into perspective, there was there's this fight with the giant cat, and the first phase
Yeah.
of it, where he had like 2 moves, took for fucking ever. And then in the second half, when he started doing all this really like almost Dark Soulsian like kind of moves where he was bouncing about everywhere and there was like more interesting stuff, then his health bar became like not like it was nothing, and it just like he was gone within like a minute, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was weird.
I would have flipped that. I would have made that second more interesting section longer. It's very weird. But they're really
Yeah, the
fun.
escal
They're good. They're
yeah,
good
they are a lot
bosses.
of fun. It's just the sense of escalation is feels a little backwards sometimes. That first boss or that boss of that first sci-fi level was funny though with the it was it was going rough until we remembered we could jump
Oh,
on the
the second
bike.
boss? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah. And you're not doing the same thing in these bosses, which I think is fun. It'll implement mechanics in the section prior and then usually test your knowledge on those mechanics in that second area. And if you're dumb like us and you're just, driving around on motorbikes and you forget that there's a jump button, you're just sitting there going, man, this is rough. I just keep taking damage. It's like, there's a jump button. This is what's happened, Hunter. We've written too many reviews. We've got that game critic debuff,
Oh
dude. The
yeah, we've
the
got
the Cuphead, the
the
Cuphead nerf.
Cuphead can't finish the tutorial. Oh, oh god.
Is that why you keep
You get a
falling
few
in this game, dude? Is that why you keep
you
falling?
you get a few too many codes and suddenly you get a part of your soul taken away.
Yeah, I think they call it
uh,
the reviewer lobotomy, dude. I think that's what they call it. Uh, but
um, um, I guess one other thing that just sprung to mind is, you know, each picking a different person. I feel like they do a good job at flipping who's doing what when they divide up the jobs so that you're not, playing as Mio won't shaft you into driving on every driving section.
no, I think that's a very good point because they have done a great job where there are moments where one of you is driving and the other person is shooting, and they'll make sure that if there's another section like that, the next time it's flipped. So you know, you're both doing something different. Or You know, there's a moment where there was a long section where Hunter was driving and I was shooting, but like he was driving a car through these tunnels, and then I was shooting bazookas. And then after a cutscene played, I was now driving while there was a bomb counting down, and Hunter had to solve captures on a mobile phone. And it was just like, he fucked that up as
Yeah.
well. We got to go replay that as
Dude, that
well.
was super that the captures were super clunky, like, having to
See, the funny part is, ladies and gentlemen, is the curse of me having bought the video game is that Hunter has to obey my trophy whims, and we have to go back and get the trophies. So,
yeah.
that's the price of playing for him. For me, it was $40. For him, it's probably playing for an extra hour after we've rolled credits. But it's just little goofy things like that. And it was like, they're just conversation starters. They're just like, there's already been so many moments in this game where, I just, say 3 months ago, I played Metaphor, right? I've just played through Metaphor, and there really aren't that many moments in that game where I've had discussions, even from a gameplay level, where I'm like, remember this, remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in this game, I've already got like half a dozen, maybe a dozen of those moments where I was like, "Oh yeah, remember when you were trying to solve those captures while we were driving in that chase scene?" Or, it was like, "Remember when you were driving in that section and you kept fucking up the jumps every single time while I was trying to fire bazookas at these cars in the air?" Like,
Yeah.
there's been so many moments where I've just been like, there's just been some really dumb, stupid moments and just really memorable gameplay experiences where it's just like, yeah, it's a very memorable game. I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. I really am. I think we've just stopped at the dragon level, and I'm sure that the gimmick of this level is obviously we've just been handed some dragon eggs. I'm sure they're gonna hatch, and eventually we'll get dragon buddies and stuff like that.
Oh, man. Level's gonna finish with, like, Panzer Dragoon or something.
That's what I'm thinking, dude. That's what I'm thinking. We literally just had a I love these chase sections. It's like, I don't know if you guys, the best comparison that I have is the final chapter of Resident Evil 4 when you're escaping on the jet ski, or the ending of Uncharted 4 as well has a very similar kind of moment. And they're like my favorite moments in video games, like the get out of the base before it explodes, or the just, the big chases. And this game has
Yeah.
such fun chase moments, whether it is being chased by 6 million trolls in a Crash Bandicoot chase level, or riding a Kira bike through over skyscrapers as you change gravity, like just
They do a really good job at presenting these chase sequences, I think is what sets
mm.
it apart from a lot of them as far as
And it feels good to control, which is such a
yeah.
big deal because there are so many chase sections where you feel like it's bullshit because you die due to superfluous, like, arbitrary things, and you die to arbitrary things in this game as well. But the checkpoints are so nice and forgiving that you literally get popped straight back where you were. Whereas, I remember in Resident Evil 4 doing that chase scene. Oh, rock fell on me. Oh, start it all again. Do it again, dude. Hope you remember where that one rock fell, okay? Because you're gonna need to remember that during that 2 minute chase scene. Um,
Yeah.
but no, so far so good, dude. I'm having a blast. I can't wait to play more of it. We will. I think we'll. I think we'll have plenty of time to get the review up for the following week. So I think look forward to that. I'll
Yeah.
be writing that. Well, I'm sure me and Hunter will have this done by early
The
next
middle of
week.
next
Yeah.
week probably, yeah.
Um, but no, I'm having a blast. I like the soundtrack as well. It's got a good soundtrack. There have been a lot of little moments where it's like I appreciate some of the songs that have been in the background of this game at times. Like there's some really good ambience pieces.
Yeah. I think I've picked up on just random bits where it'll start kicking in for certain parts. I'm like, "Ooh, neat."
There's just little subtle nods where it's like, even if it's not directly in, taking cues and taking melodies from, say, video games, there are little moments where it's like, oh, there's a reference to Sonic, and they'll do a bit of a Sonic scale where it's like, it's not a song from Sonic, but you can tell very much by the way that the music changed for that split like 5 or 10 seconds and then went back. Where I'm like, oh, I like that. That's a cute little nod. Just like there's a lot of cute little things that they do with the soundtrack where I'm like, I appreciate that. It's very supplemental, but I really appreciate what it's doing. I also have to give props to the composer of this game in general because you've had to do essentially two soundtracks for two completely different genres and try and find a way to fundamentally kind of merge them together, which is not an easy task. Very few games really manage to do that. The only thing that I can think of that, again, unfortunate comparison because the machine is very much like an animus, but Assassin's Creed does a very good job of that as well. At least the old ones. Like I'm thinking like Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Black
Yeah.
Flag, merging kind of different sci-fi and fantastical or historical settings together. It's a difficult challenge sometimes musically, and I think the game's doing a pretty good job of it. Um, yeah, no, other than bosses sometimes outstaying their welcome a little bit. I've not really got any other
Yeah.
complaints at the
I've,
moment, really.
nothing else really. No. Um.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, I'm having a blast. Joseph Fares is a mad lad, dude. He's like genuinely like I'm
One of the
sick. Right,
best
I'm
doing
sorry.
it
I'm
right
just
now.
I'm sick of it. I'm gonna tell you, dude. I don't care if we've got if we've got our Mount Rushmore of video game quote unquote kind of artists, creatives, and you're sitting there and people are like, oh yeah, Kojima, Neil Druckmann. Now fuck him off, dude. Joseph Fares 4 times. There we go. That is my Mount Rushmore.
uh,
Because that's basically what he's done. Is he's made peak 4 times and he isn't stopping, dude. He's not stopping. Let him cook. Give him all the money.
they they should make a goofy racing game as their next game and call it Ferris Wheels.
Yeah. I just love him because he's cocky. And I remember the first time he came out of the game was did fuck the Oscars. And I was like, that's very funny. But also, like, I think everyone was sitting there going, who's this guy? Why it takes two? Like,
Was he? Yeah,
why is he so
yeah.
cocky?
I think he was actually. It was before that even. I think it was introducing A Way Out was when he did the
Yeah, I think it
had a go
was.
at the Oscars. So people were like, "Who is this guy? Did he drink before he came on stage? What gives?"
Yeah, and I just love his enthusiasm and I just love how he genuinely cares about the medium. And I think it's
Yeah,
interesting because he comes from a Hollywood kind of background, quote unquote, film background. His brother is an actor. So he's got that background. He's directed indie films before in his past. So the fact that he's come over to video games and hasn't just done what I think so many people in this industry tried too much to emulate TV and movies. And he's just like kind of been there, done that, and he's taking what makes games special and just making a really good video game. Get back to making good video games. Why do you think Nintendo has done so well for so long? They just make good video games for the
yeah.
most
Make
part.
good video games and don't bloat their scope.
Yeah, just my god, yeah. But yeah, props to Hazelight. I'm having a great time so far. I can't wait to see what this ending is because I'm already having a great time, dude. I just hope
Oh
it's
yeah.
I just hope it's 2 hours with the pigs again, dude. Like, just bring me back.
Oh
Like,
dude,
it
two
turns
hours
out
with
the
the
pigs were
pigs.
the real thing. Okay, like everything else was made up by the pigs. Um, but no, I'm having a blast. Happily recommend it. I'm sure at some
Definitely.
point in the next, I'm sure in the next 6 to 12 months, you can expect me and Hunter to also probably play It Takes Two as well. We'll probably get both of them done at some point.
Yeah, I'll probably hit that at some point during the year, I would suspect. Ugh.
But yeah, Joseph Fares sweep. It's his year again, ladies and gentlemen.
It
Will
is.
GTA 6 come out? Who cares? We've already got peak fiction over here. Um, but yeah, that's that, I guess. We've not been playing. Like I say, Hunter unfortunately is tied to NDAs, so he can't talk about his thing.
Yeah, I cannot.
Um, if only
He'll have
Kyle
to
hadn't
come back
written a
tomorrow.
blasted article for Tuesday, we could have put this up on a Tuesday, and then We could have ruined the
And
review.
then yeah, and then I could have just been like, "Hey, this is what I thought about it if you don't feel like clicking away." But
I mean, other than that, I've not really played that much this week. I tell you what, I have done. I finished Ace Attorney, so that's that done. Three is the best like of the games, ladies and gentlemen.
far
Um,
and away the best. Oh,
it's a shame as well because it's like, oh, that game's great. That game was the best by far. And then I've looked, I've just looked up rankings, and everyone's like, yeah, that's the best one. Everyone like a lot of people are like, yeah, Trials and Tribulations, that's their
yeah.
favorite. And I'm like, yeah, that is. It's pretty great. But it's almost the Yakuza problem where I'm like, oh, but now if I ever go and play the rest of the series, I'm sitting there trying to chase that high, that Yakuza 0 high. And I might get close like a Yakuza 2. Might get close. But I also know that.
Some people like to act like the next trilogy is like this really far drop off
Hmm.
from the first one, and I don't. I always feel like that's a bit harsh. Like I think that um I think that the highs of the first three games is higher, but I think that
Hmm.
you could definitely make the argument that I think all three of the second trilogy's games are more consistent than Justice for All. Um, None of them get as bad as the third case in that, and I would argue that in a couple of moments it gets as good as the other, or as good as the case at the end. And then
Fair
I
enough.
would say that the Great Ace Attorney and the second Edgeworth game both on Trials and Tribulations level.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, that's that done. I don't know if and when I will get to the rest of the Ace Attorney trilogy. Well, the next Ace Attorney trilogy, should I say, or um the other ones, whatever it is, the Chronicles and the.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
I've played the main. I've played the original trilogy for now. I will take a long break from that. Then other than that, I for some reason I went back and started playing Ollie Ollie 2. I think I don't remember if I brought that up on the podcast last week. I think I
I
might have
think
brought
you
it up
did.
very briefly.
Yeah.
I platinumed it now. I've done it. Like that's a
Oh,
10-year platinum in
it
the
is
making.
done.
That is genuinely, yeah. Technically the rarest trophy on my account now is that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is interesting. I just had it was like it's one I love that game. It's really good. I'd highly recommend it, especially if you have a Vita because it's a very good kind of pick up and play game. But I think what I love about that kind of game, I'm tempted to go for and properly do the Meat Boy Platinum as well because I've been meaning to do that as well. Because just one day, I remember because I was sitting there and all these challenges, and it was like get 5 million points, and I was barely scraping 1 million. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like this is an impossible task. And then just one day, the next day started playing, and then all of a sudden, just something clicks in your head, and there's not like an aha moment. It's just like oh, I've got this now, and then all of a sudden, everything's just like, oh, easy. 5 million points, got it. Like it's done. Like just something clicked, and it was
Yeah,
like, oh, you've unlocked like gaming nirvana, where it's just like you found it, you found the source, you've got it.
that's what happened when I hit like the good juju and Sifu when I was playing that, where the like level two was giving me the business as it did with everybody in that game. And
Yeah,
then just eventually it was like, oh, I understand now. I don't know what I did to understand, but I get it now.
yeah. It's it's good stuff. It's like rhythm games and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, I finally get the expert difficulty. Oh, I finally get it. Just like my fingers actually know how to do the walk now. I can actually figure it out. I can play Guitar Hero and move my hand up the keys. I can do that now. I'm a gamer. I understand it. So yeah, finally done that. That's a 10-year journey. Ironically, it was exactly to like the month of it being a plus game. So 10 years to the like a decade. That was kind
Oh,
of crazy.
nice.
It was like 3 days off. I was like, oh, I could have planned that better, but oh well. Um, so yeah, happily recommend it. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, maybe I will play Meat Boy. I spent way more money than I should have on it. It's not come yet. I bought Persona 4 Dancing for the Vita because I want a rhythm game on Vita. So I was like,
Oh,
I need a rhythm game. I feel like I'm taking my Vita with me more just because Switch is so big. and I just want something that I can maybe just play on a lunch break or something like that. And I'm like, that's what I need. Is I
Yeah,
need a, I
it's
need
like
a I need a rhythm game. I need like a
I
Persona
wouldn't
dancing.
I wouldn't really trust carrying the Switch around my job so
Hmm.
much just because it's big and more breakable, I guess. But um did you already have the Persona 4 dancing game? I
I
don't
had it on
remember.
PS4. I didn't have it on Vita.
Yeah.
I very much. Here's the thing: ladies and gentlemen, here's a little story for you when it comes to Persona 4 dancing. Was I played Persona 5? Then I was like, I want to play a dancing game. Like, I need more Persona. I was hooked at that point. It was like this was my life, this was my personality. So I bought Persona 5 Dancing. And, I unironically love Persona 5 Dancing. I think everyone that hates on it can go fuck themselves, to be honest. Everyone sits there going, oh, the remix is bad. And I'm like, actually, a lot of them I like. And have you listened to the remixes of the 3 soundtrack? Please, those are the war crimes. Let's go and let's all put our hatred onto that because, my God, one of them is literally just the beeps and boops meme. Like, that is literally all it is. Um, but then I wanted more dancing because I was really addicted to the rhythm game at that point. So I bought the collection that gave me Persona 3 dancing and 4. And 4 has a story mode, but I hadn't played Golden. So I need to get through the
Oh,
story mode.
yeah.
So I skipped all the cutscenes because I didn't want spoilers for Persona 4. Because I didn't want to know who was alive, who's dead, who's the villain, or whatever. So I was literally just skipping through all the cutscenes. So I didn't ever play Persona 4 dancing properly. So that's my intention is I will actually play it
Oh, I
and
see.
read the cutscenes and do everything. Because I was literally just mashing through it because I'm like, give me the music. I don't care. Like I was not listening to any of the conversations. So that's my plan for that. Um, I'm trying to keep myself busy. I don't know. But then with like say, obviously we're playing Split Fiction in a couple of weeks. We've got Assassin's Creed and Xenoblade X coming out. So I'm like, I will have plenty of games soon enough. How long Xenoblade X will actually hold my attention, I do not know.
Yeah.
I hope I like it, but also I'm not a huge mecha guy. I was never like into even as a kid. I was never like into like Transformers or anything like that. Like robots don't do anything for me. No, I'm not a
Yeah,
robot guy.
robots don't really do anything for me. Like there was I had the thing where like all of those kids cartoons, I had the one version of it that I was like, "Ah, cool." And then that version finished up and I moved on. I did not stick with it
Mm,
like the 2003 Ninja Turtle show or I don't know which Transformers show it was that was on when I was a kid. I don't remember what it was called. Definitely wasn't like it definitely wasn't the first one because that
mm.
was way
Way
older than I
before, yeah, it was
am.
like 80s, wasn't it?
But
Yeah.
yeah, but like whichever one would have been on around like 2002, 3, etc. I don't know what
Yeah,
show that would have been called.
my only experience of Transformers was the Michael Bay films. I watched like the first two of those, I think,
Yeah,
as a
and
kid, and I didn't really care for
watching,
either of them at all.
yeah,
Um,
Transformers 2 is genuinely a bad movie
it's
in
where I
so
stopped. I
many.
did not like that film
Yeah,
at all.
understandably so.
And then
Like it has a cool
my only
fights
experience with
in the middle
TMT.
of it, and the rest
Yeah.
of it was bad.
And then yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like was it like the 2008 cartoon film like TMNT? I saw
Oh
that,
yeah, yeah.
and I had the PS2 video game. I got that for Easter. Don't ask me why I remember this. I just remember getting because I hate chocolate, ladies and gentlemen, or like I'm not that particularly fond of chocolate. So my parents like Easter eggs and stuff like that were never really my jam. So one year they bought me TMNT on the PS2 and it had the steel book. Like this is like one of the first steel books. It was like a steel slip casing. I probably still
Was it
have it
like
somewhere.
the game tie-in for that movie, or
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
some other?
It was a game
Okay,
tie-in.
because like they've had like a million games, so
Nah,
I
for
don't.
me, the I guess the older kind of cartoons that were the one that was passed down to me in terms of like cartoons that have been around for ages that other people, kids grew up with in like the 80s or the 90s or even like Scooby Doo. That was literally it. What's New Scooby Doo? I vibed with
Oh
What's New
yeah.
Scooby Doo. I vibed with that mainly because the song was such a banger. But
Oh yeah.
I'd seen a couple of the movies, and then I had like Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase on the PS1. So it was like, I I had enough Scooby Doo in my life where, you know, and the live action films, the you know, the James Gunn written ones, the classics, they're probably awful. I haven't seen them since I was a child, but as a child, you know, they were the perfect kind of blend of camp and comedy, where I was like, it kind of worked for my 5-year-old brain or whatever whenever I watched them. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
that's enough ranting and raving about random things. What was your favorite thing, ladies and gentlemen, that was older than you? What old cartoons? Because that's the thing. Is like new cartoons. What the fuck? Like as far
Yeah,
as I'm concerned,
dude.
isn't like there's been like 2 or 3 generations that the only cartoon when they were growing up was like Teen Titans Go. What a tragedy! What a
Honestly,
tragedy!
though, like, oh, like, it's animation isn't treated as like a respected art form over here anymore.
Did I like cartoons? The thing about cartoons is cartoons are great because links are on screen right now, by the way. But yeah, cartoons are great because it's like even when I was like a teenager or older, like I could still watch like Cartoon Network because there was still good stuff. There was like the you know even the newer kind of absurdist stuff. Like I'm thinking of like Regular Show and like The Amazing World of Gumball and stuff like that. There's still some really good stuff in those where it's like just
Yeah,
goofy bits and stuff like that. Where I still appreciate it, still watch it as a teenager. But hey,
yeah.
what a riot. Anyway, that's our show, I guess. Thank you for listening and watching this week. We will not be back same time, same place next week, unfortunately, because like I say, let us recharge. Let us come back thriving. With some Xenoblade, with some Assassin's Creed. Who knows? One of those games will definitely be good because it's cheating because it's a remaster. The other one, who knows? Find out soon, I guess.
It might be good, but will it be as good as they need it to be?
Let's find out.
Probably not. They need it to be really good.
It's not going to be that good, Hunter. I can promise you that much. If I hadn't paid for it like 8 months ago, then who knows if I would actually be playing it. Anyway, we'll find out. We'll find out in just
Yeah.
a little bit. In the meantime, keep your eyes peeled on the website hotgamesonly.com. We have got plenty of stuff going up. Hunter's got a review on Monday. What is it? Monday
The
the
10th.
10th? Yeah. Monday the 10th. Hunter's got a review up. Tuesday 11th. Kyle has got his monthly article up. And then look forward to the following week, even though there is no podcast. There will be updates and stuff like that. We'll talk about stuff that we are doing for the anniversary of HGO. And of course, there will be a full review of Split Fiction. If this hour wasn't enough for you, there'll be another 8 minutes or so on it, I'm sure. You can see our gameplay. You can see I'm going to do a super cut of every time Hunter's missed a jump, which at this point is a lot. I'll purposely
Forgot you
crop
killed.
me. Yeah, I'll purposely crop out the times that I've died like a fool. I'm the one in
There are
control.
there are a bunch of moments of just instant comedy that have happened.
Oh, there's been many instances of instant karma as well, where I've mocked you for dying and then instantly combusted myself.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
it's been fun. Anyway, we will be back soon, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows? Maybe we will come back next week and we'll just do a little mini thing. Who knows? We'll see.
yeah,
Anyway,
who
we'll be
knows?
back when we see you for season 6, I guess. But until then, have an awesome week or so. And we'll see you soon, I guess. See you next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.